Hi students, welcome to Sunil's tutorial. My name is Sunil Mirwani and today we'll be doing a chapter called as Business Restructuring. Let us see the sums from this chapter. I'm doing illustration 1, page 371. They've given you that Omega intends to acquire Alpha. So Omega buys Alpha. They give you two companies. We will see how the one company purchases another company. Now, the data that they've given you is number of equity shares. Then they've also given you the earning per share, and they've given you the market value per share, MPS, right, of Omega and Alpha. Right, number of shares are 10 lakhs and 6 lakhs. EPS is 50 lakhs and 18 lakhs, and MPS is 42 and 28. Right, now first they have given you, this is not EPS, they give you this as earnings. Earning after tax, EAT. They give you this as EAT, earning after tax. Okay. Now, first thing that you have to do is find out EPS, earning per share. How do you find out earning per share? Earning per share is EAT divided by number of shares. Earning per share is nothing but earning after tax divided by number of shares. Now in the case of Omega Limited, it is going to be 50 lakhs divided by 10 lakhs, which is going to be 5 rupees. In the case of Alpha, it is going to be 18 lakhs divided by 6 lakhs, which is going to be 3 rupees per share. So earning per share for Omega is 5 rupees per share, and earning per share for Alpha is 3 rupees per share. Once we have the earning per share, the next thing that you have to find out is PE ratio. PE ratio stands for price earning ratio. PE ratio is given by the formula MPS upon EPS. Price earning ratio is nothing but market price per share upon earning per share. So in the case of Omega, it is going to be equal to 42 divided by 5, which is 8 5s are 40, 8.4, and in the case of Alpha, it is going to be 28 divided by 3, that's 9 3s are 27, 9.33. Right? Once you have this, now let's consider that if the merger was to take place at current MPS, if merger takes place at current MPS, let's assume that Omega Limited buys Alpha Limited at the current market price of the share. Okay. That means the MPS given to you is 42 and 28. The market price per share is given to you as 42 for Omega Limited and 28 for Alpha Limited. Now Omega intends to buy Alpha, so Omega is going to take over all the shares of Alpha. Alpha has got 6 lakh shares. These 6 lakh shares are going to be purchased by Omega. So the number of shares that Omega Limited will have to purchase to buy Alpha is 6 lakh shares. Right? It is going to buy those 6 lakh shares. Now if it buys those shares, how is it going to pay Alpha Limited? It is not going to pay Alpha Limited with money, but it is going to pay Alpha Limited with shares of its own company. So if Omega Limited takes over 6 lakh shares of Alpha, how many shares of its own company will it give? It will give Alpha, shareholders of Alpha, 6 lakhs into 28 divided by 42. These many shares, which works up to 4 lakh shares. Thus, Omega Limited takes over or buys 6 lakh shares of Alpha Limited and in return issues 4 lakh shares of Omega Limited. Okay. Now, in that case, what will be the total after merger? After merger, what will be the total number of shares? The total number of shares. See, Omega Limited already had 10 lakh shares. Omega Limited already had 10 lakh shares. It has issued 4 lakh shares to buy Alpha Limited. So the total number of shares that will be there in Omega is going to be 10 lakhs plus 4 lakhs. So there are going to be 14 lakh shares. There are going to be 14 lakh shares of Omega Limited. Alpha Limited ceases to exist because Alpha Limited has been purchased over by Omega Limited. Right? In that case, what will be the total EAT after merger? Omega Limited had its own earning after tax of 50 lakhs. It has purchased Alpha. So Alpha's profit will also now be Omega's profit. So that profit will also now go to Omega Limited. So the total profit of Omega Limited after buyback, after amalgamation, after business restructuring is going to be 68 lakhs. Alpha Limited ceases to exist. Next, what will be the EPS after merger? We know that EPS is nothing but EAT upon number of shares. EAT is 68 lakhs divided by number of shares. Now there are 14 lakh shares. So the new EPS after business restructuring is going to be 4.85. Right? This company does not exist. Alpha does not exist, so no question of calculating EPS of Alpha. In that case, what will be the total earnings available to the shareholders of Alpha after merger? Total earnings of shareholders. Right? They were already getting some earning. We want to find out that these shareholders of Alpha, what is the earning that they are going to get? They are getting 4 lakh shares from Omega. So 4 lakhs. And the earning per share is 4 rupees 85 paisa. Guys, what did I do here? I multiplied the number of shares by the earning per share. Right? Do we get this thing clear? So when you multiply this, this comes to 19 lakh 42,858. 19 lakhs 42,858. Actually, it comes out to 857 rupees 14 paisa. I have rounded it off. So this is going to be the earnings of the shareholders of Alpha Limited post merger. Now this is if the merger takes place at current MPS. What if the merger was to take place in the old exchange ratio? That means if it was to take place in the ratio of EPS. If merger takes place at EPS ratio, right? You have two companies, Omega and Alpha, right? Now the pre-merger EPS of the two companies, guys, can you please see this? The pre-merger EPS of two companies was 5 rupees and 3 rupees. So the EPS is 5 rupees and 3 rupees. We will repeat the process. Omega wants to buy Alpha, hence it is going to buy all the shares of Alpha. Alpha has 6 lakh shares. So Omega will have to buy those 6 lakh shares if it has to buy Alpha Limited. When it purchases those shares, in return it is going to issue 6 lakhs into 3 divided by 5, right? So in return it is going to issue 3,60,000 shares to the shareholders of Alpha Limited. It is going to issue 3,60,000 shares to the shareholders of Alpha Limited. Hence, after merger, what will be the total number of shares? Total number of shares. Omega Limited already had 10 lakh shares of its own. Omega Limited already had 10 lakh shares of its own. It has now issued 3,60,000 shares to buy Alpha Limited. It has issued 3,60,000 shares to buy Alpha Limited. So the total number of shares is 13,60,000. That will be the total number of shares post merger. Alpha Limited does not exist. Total EAT, the earning after tax post merger. Omega already had its own profit of 50 lakhs. Since it has purchased Alpha, Alpha Limited's profit will also be theirs, which is 18 lakhs. So the total profit will be 68 lakhs. EPS we know is nothing but EAT divided by number of shares. EAT is 68 lakhs divided by number of shares, 13,60,000, right? 68 lakhs divided by 13,60,000, which works out to 5 rupees. The EPS post merger is going to be 5 rupees. Obviously, since I am doing the merger at old EPS ratio, therefore the total earnings of the shareholder, the total earning of shareholders of Alpha Limited. It is Alpha Limited shareholders of Alpha Limited who have been given these new shares. They have been given 3,60,000 shares at 5 rupees per share, right? Which is going to be nothing but 18 lakhs, right? This is going to be nothing but 18 lakhs. Thus, if the merger takes place at EPS, the shareholders will earn 18 lakhs. If the merger takes place at MPS, then the shareholders will earn 19,42,000. Since the shareholders will earn more if the merger takes place at MPS, therefore conclusion, the merger should take place at MPS, at market price per share. The shareholders of Alpha Limited would benefit more if the merger takes place at market price per share. Do we get this in clear? This finishes this sum. We will stop here for the day. Thank you very much.